Okay, so it's December 9th, 2018. Just got Sleeping Beauty back down on her skates temporarily, so we can shift her out of the way. Ran into an issue today trying to adjust the brakes. The parking brakes are locked up, so I need to find a solution for that. She's coming along. I've got to work on trying to straighten out this back bumper a little bit. It's got a bit of a sway in it, tight down here on the passenger side, and probably design position on the driver's side. So I need to either bend the bumper a little bit or shim out the right side. But my guess is probably going to need to be bent slightly. So we'll pull it off of there and put it between some blocks and stand on it a little bit to bend it back straight. Should be no problem. We need to get the rubber molding to replace this. It's all dry rotted and worn out. I'll be working on making sure that the rear vents are operational. Needless to say, we've got a little bit of paint body work to do. Trying to figure out how to get these plugs out that the Thunderbird script are attached to. So I'm thinking maybe I need to poke those out from the back. Got one or two of the vanes are slightly bent, so we'll be straightening those out and then refinishing the grill. In order to get that grill out, you need to take at least one of the bumper guards off the front, so I was able to do that. And then going to be working on polishing up the stainless on the outside. I've got pretty much all of the stainless out of the interior, and that is back at the house. We will be rethinking the plan for the instrument panel. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to pull it out in order to repaint it, but I'll have to figure that out when we go. Then I've got to figure out what the paint spec is for the dark green on top of the IP and also on the back of the seat back panels. There's a darker green, dark turquoise color, so I'll have to get a solution for that. Still working on trying to figure out how to solve this problem. The driver's side door's got a pretty big divot in it, and we will either fix it or I will pull the door panel off, disassemble it, cut it apart, and remake it if I have to. So the other one is perfect, no holes in that one, but something about these driver's side door panels, obviously because they get more wear than the others, I've seen tons of them that have this hole in the armrest. So we'll have to be really interested to understand what's going on underneath the surface there. My guess is there's a bracket or something that is just too close to the underlying urethane foam. So I've cleaned them, I've gone over them one time. Next step will be to detach the lower portion of the sail panel headliner material. You can see the difference between the pristine white at the bottom and the areas that were exposed to the atmosphere over the last 50 years or so. I'm going to try the Dawn and vinegar water solution that I used on the seats. It seemed to work really good on that, so no reason to believe it won't work for this as well. But the headliner is basically perfect. It's just dirty, so it wasn't abused at all. So that's a good sign. I am going to put rear seat belts in. I did find depressions in the floor pan that appear to be the place where you would put the big washers and the reinforcements to put in rear seat belts. So I'm going to explore that further, but very likely we'll put rear seat belts in this to make it safe for my grandkids when I cart them around in this. But visitors over the last 50 or so years, pile of corn kernels back here in the car. It's strange to see that. At some point the car must have been left open, but there's no evidence of a nest inside the car. There were two probably mouse nests, one in the passenger side door jamb and one up underneath the air cleaner on top of the manifold. Cleaned those out, but this is the first evidence we've seen of anything going on inside the car. Don't see any droppings or anything, so I'm kind of curious. Maybe it's just dried up and crumbled to dust over the years. But anyways, in general, underneath the rear back seat area is all in really good shape. The sound deadeners and the the heat reflector material is in great shape. So we will be doing everything we can to make sure that we reuse that. We'll update it and add some additional reflective tape to that to replace the areas that have been ripped or damaged in some way over the years. So I disassembled this center Thunderbird nameplate assembly and took the plastic out and polished off all of the silver paint that was peeling, and then just resprayed it on the back side with Ford Argent Silver. The black paint on the Thunderbird letters was fine, but the downside of the appearance on this, you can see it. There's a number of stress cracks in the plastic. Nothing can be done about that, but I'm just going to let that go. I mean, this is going to be a daily driver, not a show car, so we will just let that one slide. If we at some point can come up with a more perfect part, then we'll consider replacing that. It's significantly improved from when I picked her up. Been cleaning off the gunk and grime and overspray of the undercoating on the inner fender wells. I've got a lot of work to do clearly on the firewall. Changes, updates to the engine. We put a new water pump on, and I've got a new fuel pump coming in a few days. Replace the coil, points, plugs, distributor cap, rotor, etc. Rebuilt the carburetor. I'll put some pictures up later on that. New belts, new hoses. One thing is curious. See the routing of the heater hoses. This is how I found it. One of the hoses was disconnected over here. This one just goes and was a free end. My guess is that this one, which looks like they bypassed the heater core for some reason. This hose loops back around and goes back into the top of the manifold right underneath the carburetor. My guess is this one is the one that's supposed to connect over here, and then this one is the one that's supposed to connect to the manifold. I'd like to get some input from other T-Bird experts on that one, but that's my guess. I asked the previous owner why the heater had been bypassed, and the gentleman was unable to tell me. He's pretty old, and probably just doesn't remember. This car was put away in April of 1977 and never came out of its garage until August of 2017. Literally 40 years in the garage, so a lot of time passed. We'll get it figured out. I plan to clean the engine up, paint what I can, and as I go, just make repairs and replace parts as needed. I'm considering changing the brake master cylinder for a dual, but I'm going to wait and see how the performance is of the brakes once we get the car out on the road. I rebuilt the brakes, and like I said, just waiting to see what the performance looks like on those parts. If we need to have more braking power, then I'll do that. But that brake test, once we get her down on the ground and out of the garage, we'll tell the tale on what else we may need to do on the brake system. Not sure on power steering. My assumption is it's operative. The car was in good condition when it was put away, so we will see. Once again, time will tell. Clean up under the hood. I'm going to need to replace the, just for appearance, replace the blankets underneath the hood. They're in pretty rough shape, which is to be expected, but not a lot of rust on the car. A little bit surface rust under the hood. A few pinholes here on the fender. I think there's one or two on the other fender. Again, the only perforation on the car that I've been able to find is here, right behind the rear wheel well. So that'll get ground out, and if I can plug weld it, I'll figure out how to do that. I've been watching the videos on YouTube, treasure trove of information on how to fix these old cars. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. But beyond that, the car is really solid. So just surface rust, touch-ups where it probably was nicked up in the garage when it was being stored. Again, door jams. I've taken the trim out to polish that up, but again, pretty much just surface rust. No serious damage rust-wise in any of these areas. So that's a really good sign. Inside the trunk, aka the spare parts department. Again, surface rust. No perforation that I can see. Although I haven't started grinding on any of this to get it cleaned up, but I've looked fairly close, and I don't see any perforation, as I said. So we're going to start cleaning this up. Probably be the first area I attack in prepping for the paint. I want to paint her from the inside out. Picked up a couple of wheel skirts as well from a buddy out in just up near Flint, Michigan. They look rough, but these will be brought back as good as new when I'm done with them. They're straight, other than maybe the flanges, and so we'll do a little welding and clean up. Mechanisms work. I need to replace a locating pin on one of the two, but beyond that, they're going to look really good when I get them back on the car. All the wheel covers were really in pretty nice shape. I cleaned them up a while back, and we'll get those back on at the appropriate time. So again, inside the deck lid, very little, just a few rust spots here and there, some scratches, but again, that's going to clean up real nice. So, and on the subject of the fuel tank, the fuel tank was basically dry, so I wanted to get a sense of what was going on in there in terms of rust. So I literally taped a dish towel onto an electrician's fish tape, and I put it down the fuel filler pipe, and then raked it around inside there, pulled it out, and there was just a hint of residue in the towel. So that's a good sign. There was no evidence of any rust whatsoever, so I feel pretty fortunate about that. So for the time being, we're going to run with the existing fuel tank unless another problem comes up, and otherwise, I'd really like to have her running for Christmas. We'll see. But anyways, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.